Hello dear friends. The topic of today's discussion is derivative instruments. There are basically four types of derivative instruments which are the popular ones: forward contracts, future contracts, option contracts and swaps. Talking about forward contracts basically is an agreement. It is a contract. So all of the derivative instrument, as I have already explained, that they are legal contracts. So the rules of a valid contract are applicable to the derivative instruments. So all futures, options, forwards and swaps, they are legal contracts, and the valid contract rules they come under the Indian Contract Act 1872. Forward contract are one such type of contract which are customized in nature, which are designed based on the negotiation between two and more parties. So basically, forward contract is an agreement to buy or sell the underlying asset on a specified date for a future price, for a specified future price. Now what happens that since we are talking about derivative instruments, so the underlying asset can be any asset. It can be a share, it can be a commodity. So basically forward contracts are more popular in terms of commodities. So in this case, one of the party to the contract assumes a long position. Long position means that somebody who is ready to buy. He agrees to buy the underlying asset at a specified future date, at a specified price. And the other party assumes a short position. And he would agree to sell that asset on the same date for the same price. So since it is the contract is customized based on the discussion and negotiation between the two parties, so the date of delivery, price, quantity, all of these are negotiated bilaterally by the parties to the contract. The forward contract are normally traded outside the exchange. So these are basically over-the-counter exchange contracts, and there is no role of exchange in it. So that means the counterparty risk is not covered by in this contract. So the features of such forward contract are that these are bilateral contract and they are exposed to counterparty risk. Another thing about forward contract is that the forward contract is usually not transferable to others because it is customized. It is based on the requirement of two or more parties. So you have to make sure that if you are going to transfer it to somebody else, then somebody else should also be ready for such kind of the description of the contract should be acceptable to the other party as well. So usually you will find that such contracts are not transferable to others, and the counterparty risk is not mitigated in case of forward contract because in case one of the party defaults. In case of forward contracts, each contract is custom designed and is unique in terms of contract size, expiry date and the asset type and quality. You will find that contract price is generally not available in public domain because these are one-to-one contracts and no such, you can say there is no platform where the standardized information about the prices is available for this. On the date of expiry, the contract should be settled by delivery of the asset because it is the underlying asset in this case is commodities. So you will find that at the end of the contract, you will find that people are delivering the delivery of assets take place. If the party wishes to reverse the contract, it has to compulsorily go to the same counterparty, which often results in high prices being charged. You will find that in forward contracts in certain markets, the markets have become very standardized, as in case of foreign exchange. So foreign exchange forward contracts you will find are standardized nowadays, thereby reducing transaction cost and increasing transaction volumes. Forward contracts are very useful for hedging and speculation purposes. For example, there would be an exporter who feels that he's going to expect to receive some payment in dollar after 3 months. Now he is exposed to the risk of exchange rate fluctuation. So he knows that after 3 months he will get the dollar. So now today what he can do is he can enter into a forward contract by selling, because he will get dollars then. So he can sell currency forwards for dollars, and he can lock onto a rate today and reduce his uncertainty. So this is how he would hedge his position. As a hedging instrument, forward contracts can be used. Similarly, an importer who is required to make a payment in dollars after 2 months can reduce his exposure to exchange rate fluctuations by buying dollars forward today. There are various problems in the forward market in terms of as an instrument, because there is no centralization of trading for forward contract. So counterparty risk is not mitigated. There is default risk which is there. Illiquidity of forward contracts exist, because you will find that you cannot resell the contract to somebody else, and counterparty risk exists for this. Second type of contracts are future contracts. Futures contract or futures market, you will find that these are standardized contracts. So futures and options are standardized contracts which are available on exchange. So future contract is an agreement between two parties to buy or sell an asset at a certain time in the future at a certain price. But unlike forward contract, these are standardized in nature and these are available on exchange. So this helps in improving the liquidity of futures contracts, because the exchange will define certain standardized features of such a contract. So the underlying asset is standardized, the quantity is standardized by the exchange, quality of the underlying instrument that has to be delivered if required for delivery is also standardized, and then there is a standard timing for such settlement. So you will find that exchange has defined standardized features of the futures contracts which are available. Now the underlying asset in this case can be stocks, indexes, commodities, or currency, or any other such item. So future contract, usually you will find that more than 99% of future contracts are offset before maturity. That means an equal and opposite position is taken up by a investor in the futures market before the maturity of the contract. Now this is done because the investor doesn't want to invest in futures market for the purpose of taking the delivery of the underlying asset, but they use it for the purpose of hedging their risk or for speculation purposes. So you will find that forward contracts transactions happen for the purpose of delivery, for taking the delivery of the underlying asset, but in case of futures contract, the delivery of assets is usually not done. So an investor who is investing in futures market, his main purpose is either hedging or speculation, or as an arbitrator he has entered into the market and he would like to close his position or offset his position by taking an opposite position before the settlement period. Now in case of futures contract, what things are standardized? Quantity is standardized, quality of the underlying is standardized, date and month of delivery is standardized, price quotation and the minimum price change that will take place is also standardized. The location of settlement is also standardized. So all of these things are standardized, and then exchange becomes the intermediary. So you are going to buy the futures and options contract from the exchange, where exchange will act as the counterparty. So if if you are buying the position, so exchange will hold the sell position and vice versa. Now in case of the futures contract, you will find that there are 3 types of contracts which are available: 1 month delivery contracts, 2 months maturity and 3 months maturity. So near month, middle month and far month. So these three contracts are available, and let's say somebody has purchased, an investor has purchased 1 month delivery contract. So for example, if we talk about India and if we talk about National Stock Exchange, so every contract in futures market is initiated or is written on the last Thursday, on the last Friday of every month. So a new contract is written on last Friday of every month, and the monthly contract which is settled, that happens on last Thursday of every month. So on last Thursday, automatically every contract will be closed out and delivery will take place on the date of maturity. But we have seen that more than 99% of future transactions are offset before the maturity, because the purpose of investor is not to get delivery of the underlying asset. The purpose of the investor is to get is to earn a profit out of it. And there are some terminology related to futures contract. One such term is spot price. Spot price is the price at which the underlying asset, that underlying asset can be, because these are exchange traded instruments, so you will find stocks of various companies and indexes, currencies. So all of these are underlying asset. And then there is a cash market which goes. So cash market, the price in the cash market or price in the stock market or price in the spot market is the price at which the asset is trading in the spot market. Then what is futures price? Futures price is the price at which future contract trades in the future market, in the futures market. So when as an investor you are ready to buy, we call it as long position. When the investor is ready to sell, we call it as short position. Then there is a term called contract cycle. Now every contract has a cycle or has a time period. The time period for National Stock Exchange contracts or for Indian contracts is decided as 1 month, 2 month and 3 month expiry cycle. Now which expires on last Thursday of the month. Thus, if it is a 1 month contract which is starting in January, it will expire on last Thursday of January. And on the Friday of the following the last Thursday, that means the next day after Thursday, a new contract having 3 months expiry is introduced for trading. Then what is the term called expiry date? Expiry date is the date which is specified in future contract, and it is the last date on which the contract will be traded, and after that it will cease to exist. For futures contract, you will find a term called lot size or contract size. Now these future contracts for underlying asset are not available for single stocks or single value, so they come in a lot. So the amount of asset that has to be delivered under one contract, that is the lot size or contract size. Now basis is another term which we very commonly use for futures contract. The basis is the futures price minus the spot price. That means how much is the difference between, how much is the risk coverage between the future and price and the spot price. So you will find at the time of writing the contract, there will be huge difference between, or the difference between the future price and the spot price will be higher as compared to as we reach to the maturity or as we reach to the expiry date. This basis becomes smaller and smaller, and futures price try to merge with the spot price near to maturity. So you will find that there will be different bases for each delivery month, and normally future price is higher than the spot price, so we say that there is a positive basis, and if the spot price is higher than the future price, we say that there is a negative basis. Now all the future contracts, how the future prices are determined. So future prices are determined based on the cost of carry model. So cost of carry is because the underlying asset has a current value or has a spot price or has a price in the cash market. Now we are talking about a price which is going to be after 1 month. So for any asset, what will be its price after 1 month will depend on the base price, that is the today's price of the asset, plus some other factors. Now these some other factors are defined as cost of carry. For example, it will depend on the opportunity cost of interest rate. It will depend upon the storage cost in case it is some asset which is a commodity, uh, or, uh, or there can be transaction cost, there can be dividend declared on the underlying asset, there can be some income which is coming up on the underlying asset. It can be some risk-free rate of interest, so it can be rate of interest of some foreign currency. So anything which over and above the base price you need to add on to get the future price. So this model is known as cost of carry model. Now whenever transactions happens in futures market, so in case of futures market, what happens as an investor, if you want to invest in futures market, you have to open a demat account, just like you go for the stock market, you open a demat account, and in that demat account you have to you have to link your bank account with it. Now if you want to buy stock in the spot market, what happens if you want to buy 1 share or you want to buy 10 share, you multiply it with the price, and that is the amount of money which will be paid by your bank account, through your bank account, to the exchange, and you will get those shares, you will buy those shares in T plus 2 days. But in case of futures market, you are just, it's a kind of a futures transaction, that after 1 month, at the end of 1 month, you will buy the underlying asset at a future price which is decided today itself, right? So you need not have full amount of money in your bank account to do a futures market transaction. You need to keep a margin amount. So the amount of money which you should have in the bank account linked with your demat account when you want to do a futures market transaction is known as the margin money. So you have to keep just a percentage of, let's say 30% or 10% of the total value of total worth of the contract size as a margin money. Now what happens in case of future market? So that term is called initial margin. So the amount that must be deposited in your margin account at the time a future contract is first entered is known as the initial margin. Now futures market work on the principle of mark-to-market margin. So at the end of each day, what happens? Automatically in your margin account, some profit or loss will be added or deducted from your account based on the futures closing price. Now every day the underlying spot market is fluctuating. So the underlying stock price is fluctuating, and in the futures market you have decided about a future price. So similarly in the futures market also the prices are fluctuating. So the difference between the future price and the spot price at the end of the day will reflect that whether your contract is moving in the direction of the way you have entered, the kind of position you have taken into the contract, or it is going in the reverse direction. So if there is a positive, you can say increase, or there is an increase in the price in a fashion in which you wanted your contract, like the difference between the spot price and the future price. So every day on daily basis it is calculated, and whatever is the difference in the price, that amount is, if it is a profit, it will be added to your margin account. If it is a loss, it will be deducted from your margin account. And this process is known as mark to market. So every day on the basis of the futures price, which is changing every day, every moment. So end of the day, every account where the future transactions are open, or you have taken a buy position, a long position, or a short position, that is a sell position, accordingly in your bank account, money will be added or subtracted in that, and this process is known as mark to market. Now in this process, what may happen that today, let's say on day 1 you have entered into a contract in the futures market which will expire on last Thursday of this month. So every day this mark to market will take place, and money will be, if it is a profit, will be added to your account. If it is a loss, it will be deducted from your account. If someday it happens that, let's say you are incurring loss for 2-3 days and your margin account balance reduces, then the overall balance you must maintain in the margin account. So then you will get a margin call. So there is this term called maintenance margin. So maintenance margin is a level which is decided to ensure that the balance in your margin account never becomes negative. So if the balance in the margin account fall below the maintenance margin, you will receive a margin call, and you are expected to top up the margin account to the initial margin level before trading commences on the next day. So in this fashion, every day profit or loss will be added or deducted to your account till the time your account is in the open interest or your account is active. Now after that, the day you want to square off your position, the day you want to close your position, you have to take a reverse position, and then your mark to market thing will stop happening. So the time an investor feels that he has earned enough profit in the market and he want to quit, he can, if the market is going favorable as per his contract which he has taken up, then he will quit before the expiry. Or if somebody is incurring loss, then also he will quit as soon as he will feel that he is no longer able to take up more loss. Price limit. So price limit is a term which explains the daily price movement limit which are specified by the exchange. So if the price moves down from a previous day close by an amount equal to the daily price limit of the contract, it is said to be limit down. If it moves up by that limit, it is said to be limit up. And a limit move is a move in either direction. Now what are position limits? These are maximum number of contracts that a speculator may hold, and the purpose is to prevent speculators to have undue influence in the market. So how many positions of any contract a speculator is allowed to hold, that is what is position limits. Now some features of the futures contract, one very important one, that they are traded on exchange, and these are standardized contracts. There is no liquidity problem in the futures contract because these are available on exchange and there are a large number of buyers and sellers, and these are freely transferable agreements because these are standardized in nature. The credit risk of the transaction is eliminated because of interference of the exchange and then through the clearing corporation or clearing house which is attached to the exchange. Like for NSE it is NSCCL, who will ensure that the risk is mitigated for any of the party. There can be two positions in the futures market: long position and short position. Long position means that you are on the buyer side, you are buying the contract, and short position means you have agreed to sell. So long position is if you hold a view that the underlying asset will rise, you could buy futures, which is known as taking a long position. And usually who will take a long position? Who knows that either in future the price will rise, or you already have something to sell in the for the purpose of hedging. Short position. So when you have a view that the share price for the underlying asset will fall, you can sell futures, which is known as taking a short futures position, which commits you to deliver the underlying shares or equivalent cash value at a pre-arranged price by a certain dates. So why one should enter into futures market? So as a speculator, one can earn profit in the futures market even when the market is falling or even when the market is rising. So whenever the market volatility is high, you can always earn good profit in the futures market, and it is very cost efficient. So because you don't have to pay the whole amount of money, your money doesn't get blocked for the amount of underlying asset lot size you are trying to purchase using the futures market. We'll also discuss this in the future coming lectures, that how futures are priced. So based on the cost of carry model, any future price will be decided based on today's share price plus the interest cost minus dividend received minus any storage cost. Now what things are standardized in case of futures? The underlying asset is standardized. So exchange will decide whether it will be a commodity, currency, financial instrument or index. Size of the asset is standardized. So what is the amount of underlying commodity which is represented by the contract? right? Price fluctuation is also standardized. This is maximum and minimum fluctuation which the exchange allows in any contract that can take place. And to prevent massive volatility, it is done. Then trading months. So this is specified month for which particular future contracts can be traded, and this can also vary. Expiry date of the contract. So all contracts expires on last Thursday of the month. Deliverable grades. If the underlying asset is going to be delivered. So what is the quality of commodity that will be to be delivered? For example, crude contracts specify the amount of sulfur that can be there in the oil. Delivery location, if the physical delivery of commodity will take place, so what is the location where it will be delivered, exchange decides that. Settlement mechanism, the terms of physical delivery are also defined by the exchange. If we have to compare forward contracts versus future contract, by basic definition, both of them are same, that it is an agreement where the two parties decide to buy the underlying asset, to exchange the underlying asset at a future date at a future price, right? The only difference is that, forward contracts are over the counter, are customized contract, where future contracts are standardized contracts. Because of this basic nature, you will find that forward contracts do not have a counterparty risk. There is a counterparty risk in case of forward contracts, but in future contracts there is no counterparty risk, because exchange will undertake will cover the risk and will make sure that there is no counterparty risk. Liquidity in case of future contract is higher than the forward contracts because they are exchange traded. So you will find that getting in and out of future positions is very fast as compared to forward contracts. Uniformity, you will find future contracts to be highly uniform because there are terms and conditions which are standardized by the exchange as compared to forward contracts. So future contracts are traded on exchange. There is a clearing house which provides protection to both the parties. It requires a margin to be paid. These are used for hedging and speculating purposes. These are standardized and published. They are transparent future contracts, and they are transparent and reported by the exchange. But forward contracts are not exchange traded. They are private and negotiated between parties with no exchange guarantee. They do not involve any margin payment. They are used generally for physical delivery and hedging purposes, and they are not transparent as well. Now, interest rate futures are such contracts where there's an agreement to buy or sell a standardized quantity of specific interest-bearing instrument at a predetermined future date and a price which is agreed between the two parties. Next type of contracts are option contracts. Option contracts, in this case, option is an exchange traded contract. It is a contract. There's an underlying asset because in case of derivative there has to be underlying asset, and since they are exchange traded, so you have stocks, indexes, currencies, interest rates, and commodities as the underlying assets for which the option contracts are available. Now, in case of option contract, it comes with a special feature. It gives you an option. So there's a buyer of option contract and there is a seller of option contract. Now, the buyer of the option contract will buy certain rights. He buys the right to do something, and the seller of the contract is selling him this right. So the option contract gives the holder or the buyer of the contract some rights that if he wants to exercise the contract, he can exercise the contract, and if he doesn't want to exercise or oblige the contract, he can go without obliging the contract. For buying this right, so everything else remains the same as a future contract. For buying this right to exercise or not to exercise the contract, or to do something or not to do something, the buyer of the option contract pays a premium to the seller, and this money which he pays as a fees to the seller, or for buying this right he pays a price, is known as option premium. So somebody, as an investor, if you are buying the right to buy, so you are known as a call option holder. If somebody is buying the right to sell, I mean the decision making right to sell, they are known as put option holders. Now talking about options, so option gives the holder of the option the right to do something. The holder not necessarily have to exercise this right. In case of a future or a forward contract, you will find that once both the parties have entered into the contract and they have committed themselves to do something at a future date, at a future price, they can't leave the contract without doing it. They have to complete the formalities, they have to exchange the underlying asset and pay the price in return and fulfill the contract. So any contract which is once entered between two parties has to be fulfilled, until and unless in case of future contract it is settled before delivery. So if a counter position is not taken before delivery, or if it is not squared off, the position is not squared off before delivery, a future contract will always remain open. And at the time of maturity, or at the time of expiry date, or at the time of settlement has to be done. So at the time of maturity, in case of option contract, the buyer of the option will always have this right that if he wants to fulfill the contract, if he wants to fulfill the commitment under the contract, or if he wants to go ahead with the settlement of the contract, he can. And if he doesn't want to do it, he can always say that I don't want to fulfill the contract because the terms are no longer lucrative for me. For buying this right, he has to pay an option premium, and he is buying this right from the seller. Now whether this decision making right is for right to buy or for right to sell, that makes a difference. If he is buying this right to exercise the option for buying the underlying asset, then he is known as a call option. But if he is buying the right to sell, it is known as a put option. So option contract will grant their purchaser the right but not the obligation to buy or sell a specific amount of underlying at a particular price within a specified period. Now there are two types of option. So the option is basically a right to either buy or sell something at a future price within the expiry time period or within the set time period. So the right to buy is called the call option, and the right to sell is called a put option. Now you can exercise an option if you wish, but it is not compulsory for you that you have to do so if you are buyer of the option. Now these are some basic terminology which we will come across in next of discussions on option contract. And this talks about index option. Now what are index options? Where the underlying asset is an index. So these options have the index as the underlying instrument. So they are European options, while now there can be options which are European, or there can be options which are American. So index options are usually cash settled before the maturity, so there is no delivery that happens in case of index options. Then second type of option contracts are stock options. So stock options are options on individual stocks. So options which are traded on almost, let's say, 500 stock in US, option contracts are available, and in India it's like 130 plus contracts on which the option contracts are available. A contract will give the holder the right to buy or sell the underlying shares at a specified price at a future date. So there's for an investor we say that he is a buyer of an option. So who is a buyer of an option? He is the one who, by paying the option premium, buys the right but not the obligation to exercise the option on the seller or the writer. Who's writer of the option? The writer of a call or put option is the one who will receive the option premium and is thereby obliged to sell or buy the asset if the buyer exercises on him. Basically, there are two types of option, call option and put option. So a call option gives the holder or gives the buyer the right but not the obligation to buy an underlying asset at a certain date for a certain price. And put option gives the holder the right to sell, the right but not the obligation to sell the underlying asset at a future date at a future price. What are swaps? So swaps are four type of derivative instruments. So these are arrangement in which one party trades something with another party, and swaps are also over the counter. Swap contracts are generally popular between financial institutions, especially banks. So you'll find that swap market is very large and it has got trillions of dollars of outstanding swap agreements which exist, and these are also customized contracts, and in some cases there are standardized contracts which are available. So there are currency swaps, interest rate swaps, commodity and other such swaps which are available. Now usually in case of swap transaction, the underlying asset is currency or interest rate. So both the parties enter into an agreement to exchange the underlying cash flows at a different interest rate, at a future price, at a future date. So this is the basic feature of a swap transaction. What is the purpose of derivative or uses of derivatives? So derivatives are risk management instruments. So they were designed for the purpose of mitigating the risk. There are investors who are ready to take less risk. There are other investors who are ready to take more risk. So both the type of investors can take respective positions as and when they want. And specifically from the purpose of hedging, if we see that, as a hedging instrument, derivative help in minimizing the risk of any investor who has a spot position or who actually holds the underlying asset. For that purpose, derivatives are very useful for hedgers. Derivatives are useful for income generation because one can enter into speculative activities, or as an arbitrator one can earn profit from the differences of prices in two different markets, in the cash market and the derivative market. So it is very useful instrument for income generation, and for as a financial engineering instrument, as an innovative product or a hybrid instrument. It is very popular in corporate world and for companies as well who want to do derivative transaction and earn some, either for the purpose of hedging or for the purpose of speculative activities. So in case of risk management, you will find that a hedger's primary motivation is risk management. So somebody who is bullish, he believes that prices are going to rise. Somebody who is bearish believes that prices are going to fall. And one can tailor the risk exposure of a person based on whether he is bullish or bearish along the continuum. As an income generation, you will find that one can always design strategies using options and future contract, and one can earn profit even when the market is going down. So writing calls, especially covered calls, are one way how you can earn some profit in the derivative market. And as a financial engineering tool, you will find that these are hybrid instruments that can be created. There can be customized contracts that can be created based on the requirements of any industry or any investor, and they can be used as a product which can give you benefit or provide you hedging or supernormal profits in different typical situations as well. So derivatives are something like electricity, dangerous if mishandled, but bearing a potential to do good. Thank you so much for